Hi guys, and welcome back to Behind the Scenes with Plaster and Petals. Today I'm going to show you from start to finish how I make one of my floral intaglios. Now I call them floral intaglios because they're very much like a traditional intaglio. They're a castor plast that I go ahead and frame. You don't have to frame it, you can use it for a million other things, but I like to frame my floral intaglios. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around and I'll show you from start to finish how I do that. Okay, so here we have that prep clay from yesterday that I let dry about 20 hours, and it's perfect for casting. I'm going to go ahead and cast this daisy. It's so beautiful. I love casting these types of daisies as there's so many different layers of petals that you just see so much detail once they are casted. So we're going to go ahead and press this right into the clay. Lay it down exactly where we want it. And we're going to take that textured cardstock once again and run it over the top. Now, one of the reasons I like using a cardstock is because it makes sure to keep the flower right where I put it. And also, it adds a little bit of a nice texture that works with that flower to really define that 3D effect that you get from the floral. So it pressed beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. Now these are a little bit more tedious, but worth every second. Thin with our clay, as that middle part, if it was too thin, it would pop right through the clay and ruin that imprint. So you don't want your clay to be too thin. That way you can get a nice intact intaglio. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press this in. And I'm going to put some plaster over it. One little petal right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fill it up with plaster, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pour our plaster into the mold. And typically, I don't like to go too thick with these because they will be framed. You want to make sure that the mold is pressed nicely into the clay, otherwise you'll get seepage, and that's not good. So I need to press it in a little bit harder. So I'm going to leave it right there. That way it'll be not too thick and I won't need to sand it too much. Also, another reason why prepping your clay is good is that on the back end, if you prep that clay really well, you will have way less finish work to do as far as sanding to get any imperfections out of the plaster. So I'm going to let this cure for about 30 minutes and then we'll come back into mold together. Okay, so now we've let it cure for about 30 minutes. It's pretty hard, and I'm going to go ahead and demold. Oh, it came up with the clay. Sometimes that happens. That's okay. All right, I'm going to take this clay off and then... Okay, so it came out perfectly. Once we clean that off, you'll really be able to see that middle part. But it came out great. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, and then I'll show you a demolding trick that I have. Okay, so I'm going to do something a little controversial, and I'm going to throw this right in the oven. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and take the mold out of the oven and demold it. and it pops out easily, and didn't create any breaks around the edges. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a soft paintbrush and get all that clay off, and then I'll show you what I do next. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna take a soft paintbrush and I'm just gonna scrub all that clay off of it, get anything out of those details that might be in there, especially in that middle bit where the clay likes to collect. Okay, so after I use that paintbrush to get all the clay off, I take a wet sponge and I go around the edges, which I don't really need any of that because it came out of the mold so nicely with my demolding trick. But if you did have like chips around the edges, you would take this wet sponge and you would go around the edges like this and just kind of scrub and make it smooth around the edges. Okay, so now that we've finished cleaning it up, I'm gonna go ahead and be controversial again, and I'm gonna throw this right in my oven again. So the oven is set at 170, the same temperature that it was when I put the mold in to demold it. Okay, so why do I say putting the bas relief in the oven is so controversial? I don't know. I think that people are probably gonna think it's a big deal because I've never seen anybody talk about it or do it before. You might get people that want to say, oh, you lose the integrity of the plaster putting in the oven, and that can be true if you put it in there for too long or at too hot of a temperature. But I leave mine at 170, which is the lowest that my oven goes, and I find that it works perfectly. I don't have to wait several days for it to dry out. I don't have to wait for a warm day to put it outside. I just put it in the oven, wait a few hours, and it's dry. And also, people may say, oh, well, you're emitting fumes from the plaster and that's not good to breathe in. I've done research that actually with it being such a low temperature, it does not make a difference breathing it in as it would to just have it dry at normal temperatures out of the oven. So as long as you're not putting the oven too hot, I think we're good to go. So that's why I think maybe it may be controversial. Okay, so it's been about 3 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out of the oven. And because the oven is only at 170, it's not hot for me to just grab it with my hands. All right, guys, so here is my finished intaglio. And as you can see, because of my clay prep, I don't have much finishing to do because the clay was even. The intaglio is pretty even. We don't have chipping around the edges. The background of the floral is perfect. We don't have any indents or scratches. So I don't have to do much finish work, if any at all. If I was to do a little bit of finishing work, I would use a little bit of sandpaper and sand off the edges if there was any chips on it. This is a 600 grit sandpaper. And if I wanted to make it thinner, I would go ahead and use this 120 sandpaper. But I think we're thin enough to be able to frame it. And because of all that prep work, there isn't much work to do now. I want to show you one of my original intaglios, and this was before I learned all my techniques. You could see that I wasn't too worried about prep work in the beginning, which is fine. It's all just fun to get into, and you're not going to be great at it at first. Not to say I wasn't great at it. I'm just saying it's the techniques have improved. As you can see, I wasn't too worried about the surrounding clay around my imprint. The imprint didn't come out that great. It's not as 3D as I'd like. There's a little bit of chipping and air bubbles in the imprint itself. Now, that's not to say this isn't beautiful, and if you got this on your first go around, it wouldn't be amazing. That is what makes this art form so fun, is the ride that you're gonna go on of learning all the tips and techniques that make you a better artist overall. So as you can see, I wanted to just show you the difference between prepped clay and unprepped clay and why to me it's so important. All right guys, so I hope this video explained why prep work in making your bas relief is so important. And if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll be notified anytime I upload a new video. We'll see you soon.